Hey everyone, today I'll be showing you how to make your very own Captain Rex helmet. The file is made by Galactic Armory, and in today's tutorial I'll show you guys everything you need to do to finish a helmet after it is printed. So if you want to know how to print and slice, check out my other videos. In this video I'll be showing you guys all my tips and tricks and show you guys how I finished 2 Captain Rex helmets over the course of 1 week. If you're a beginner, this is the video for you because I go over all my steps in a very simplified way. So as you can see here, we start with 2 freshly printed helmets. I'm going to want to start by breaking off all of those supports. I use a glove, and if you want, you should probably use safety goggles because safety first. And I use the little prying tool, the little scraping tool that comes with your printer. The reason I use a glove is I don't want to get a plastic splinter in my hand, and the scraping tool works well at taking off all those little supports and getting in between the print and the support. Just be careful as you're removing the plastic supports that you're not creating any indents or gashes or holes in the print itself. So be careful, take your time, and try to get all those supports off. So now that all the supports are removed, we have the helmet itself. And as you can kind of see, there are a lot of layer lines, so we're going to want to smooth those out. I start by taking a palm sander with 100 grit sandpaper and going over both the helmets and all the little attachments like the rangefinder and the aerators. I'm going to go over carefully. I'm not going to want to stay in one spot for too long because that will melt the PLA and create a divot in your helmet. So go over the seams, go over all the parts that have some major layer lines, trying to get initial smoothing. Once again, I use a palm sander with 100 grit sandpaper. It works well for me for an initial go over on the helmet. And this is just the first step of the long journey that we're going to take to smooth out the helmets. As you can see, the layer lines are still there, and to get those smooth, we're going to need some form of filler. In this video, I'm just going to use Bondo spot putty and a glove and apply it over. There are many different fillers that you can use. In my other videos, I talk about modeling paste mixed with water. You can mix the Bondo spot putty with acetone and brush it on. You can use wood filler and acetone. There are many different ways, but in this video, just a tube of Bondo spot putty is what I'm using, and I'm just dabbing it, putting it in those layer lines, trying to fill them. Initially, I'm going to go over the entire helmet, but focus specifically on those parts that have the bigger layer lines and bigger gaps. We're going to cover the entire helmet and all the little pieces for the attachments. Along with whatever filler you decide to use, I recommend using the Rust-Oleum Filler Spray Primer. It's sandable, it works well, and it's great at revealing the lines and divots and things and parts you need to sand. So after I cover it with whatever filler I choose to use, I go and spray the entire helmet. This helps fill it and also reveal where I need to sand more and where I need to add more filler. As you can see here, the Bondo left a few marks of its own. That's not a big issue. Remember, right now on this first go around, we're just trying to fill in the layer lines. So this helps reveal all the spots that I need to sand. And I'm going to go back, take my palm sander, and I'm actually going to use 100 grit again and just do a light sanding all over the helmet, trying to take off those parts that are sticking out or the parts that need a little bit more sanding. Remember that you don't want to remove all the filler that you've applied. Just go around lightly around the helmet. And once I've gone around with the palm sander, then I'm going to use a piece of sandpaper in my hand so that I can reach all the little parts and divots that the palm sander couldn't reach. So in this instance, I'm using 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going around the helmet, giving it a little bit cleaner of a finish with finer grit sandpaper. And as you're sanding, you'll probably notice more areas where the layer lines weren't filled in and it's not completely smooth. Not to worry, this is just the first step. We're going to find those little areas that aren't completely smooth, and we're going to go back in with more filler, and we're going to try to fill them in. So it's a process of repeating the filling and sanding until it's smooth to your liking. So as you can see here, I'm going in again with the Bondo spot putty, and the areas that need more attention, more filling, I'm focusing on those. And like I said, the spray filler primer is a great way to see the layer lines that you still haven't filled and smoothed out. Another way to find those areas that need a little bit more smoothing is just to simply run your bare hand along the helmet. Your finger will be able to pick up on those areas that need a little bit more smoothing and filling. Once everything is smooth to your liking, next comes the painting. So as you can see here, I'm painting all the attachments and the rangefinders. I'm going to spray it over and let it dry, and then flip it once it's dry so I can get the other remaining edges and parts. And I'll go over the helmet with just light coats of white. Remember, don't spray too much so that it's dripping, or else you're going to have to sand that down. So after enough light coat that your helmet is completely white, you'll have your base coat down. So it's important now that you leave the helmet to cure for at least 24 hours, because we're going to be taping and masking the helmet and don't want the paint to come up. So next I'll use a combination of multiple painter's tapes to mask the helmet. We're designing it to look like Rex, so make sure you have a good reference picture on your computer so that you can make sure you're doing it correctly. Galactic Armory's realistic Rex helmet has a little template for the J guys, so I'm using that so I don't have to mask out those designs myself. I can use lower quality painter's tape and plastic bags to cover the remaining parts of the helmet to protect from overspray. To get sharper lines, I'll first spray the helmet with white to create a kind of sealant, and then I'll go over with the blue on the parts that I've masked. So this will then create the design. After I spray it, I'll use balls of tape and kind of press and pull to create a weathered pattern on the blue. Following the application of the blue paint, then you're going to remove the plastic bag and all the tape off the helmet. The painter's tape that I use recommends that I pull it off while the paint's still wet. It depends on the tape you use, but that's what I did in this instance. So you'll just pull off the bags, the tape, and that will leave your remaining design. If you let the base coat cure for long enough, it shouldn't be pulling off with the tape, but if it does, not to worry, you can still touch it up with white paint. So next I'm going to weather the helmet. And the reason why I'm weathering the helmet before I paint the weld lines and all the other designs is because the method that I use, in which I'm applying and brushing on wet acrylic paint and then quickly wiping it off, that would smear off all the other designs that I want to keep on the helmet. So that's why I start with weathering first. I'll go around, leave some more paint in the divots and low places, and then just blend it on the helmet. I have a tutorial video that goes over this in more detail. And after this acrylic paint is dry, then I can go and add the other details that I want to. I'm going to add the tally marks with black acrylic paint and the weld marks with a combination of a rust red, a blue, and a white. I'll start by applying the red in kind of a messy, larger line across the areas that need it. I'll follow with the blue and then finish with a smaller white stripe. That leaves a good representation of the weld lines. I do that all with acrylic paints. Make sure that each layer of paint dries before you apply the next layer on top. After all the acrylic paint is dry, next I'm going to want to attach all the pieces like the aerator and such to the helmet. I'll use a different combination of glues. I use a hot glue gun. I use super glue from Gorilla Glue. It works super well. So depending on the part, I'll use different glues, but I want to secure those pieces to start. And after the piece is in place, I'll slightly apply pressure until it's secured. These glues dry rather quickly, so you shouldn't have to wait for too long, but those 5 pieces that you see are what I'm securing right now at the moment. After all the glue and acrylic paint are dry, next we're going to go over the helmet with a clear acrylic matte finish. This is going to seal in all the designs that we've added to the helmet so that water and other things don't wipe them away. There are different clear coats that you can use with different finishes. There's matte, there's satin, and there's gloss. I like to use matte for the Clone Troopers from the Clone Wars because it's an animated series and I think it looks better. The clear coat will probably require at least 24 hours to cure, so make sure you leave it out long enough for it to cure. And after it's cured, only then will I apply the visor. The reason why I sprayed it with clear coat before putting in the visor is because the clear coat overspray would fog up the visor and you wouldn't be able to see out of it, which kind of defeats the purpose. So only after the clear coat is applied and cured will I install the visor. I have a video that goes over how to install the visor. So at this point, the helmet is basically done. Make sure that you've let the clear coat air out because that stuff is not great to breathe in. I just need to attach the rangefinders. You can attach it with just glue, or you can figure out a way with magnets to get a usable, detachable rangefinder. Like I said before, it took me just a week to finish these 2 helmets. I just wanted to do this to show you guys how simple the process is if you don't overcomplicate it, Yes, you can be a perfectionist and spend more time to get it cleaner and smoother to your liking, but you can get good results with simple techniques over a short period of time. With these simple steps, you and your friends can make your very own helmets and do what me and my buddies did. We made all the 501st helmets and went and did a photo shoot at the local mall. Go check out my Instagram to see all those photos and how that turned out. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.